Hey man, when I look at the AFC South, it makes me think that it's close enough and that their win average is low enough that a team could actually jump up and win that thing. It's been Houston for the last little bit, but they're not winning in dominant fashion. I mean, last year they were, they had the same number of runs scored, or not runs, but
Yeah.
scored as allowed for points. And so I was just
Mhm.
watching baseball stuff. And so it seems like a division where someone could theoretically jump up and take it. So, but that's what we want to get into today is the AFC South and what's going to happen this year, or what we think is going to happen this year. So, that being said, this is We Are the Game. I'm Luke. That's Michael, and we're going to get into those power ranking kind of sort of win predictions for the 2025 season today. And without any ado whatsoever, because there's far too much ado in the world, let's just get right into it. So, give me your thoughts on Houston for this year. Fire away.
Yeah. So Houston, like you already pointed out, Houston last year really was not the most impressive offense in that division. They were Indy scored more points barely, but they did, and their defense was the best in that division, but would have been probably middle of the pack in many other divisions. So I think they're going to need to see improvement on both sides of the ball, and I do think that they've really set themselves up to do that on offense. Um, CJ Stroud, keeping him safe. They've retooled their offensive line and brought in some veteran assistants there to shore that up. I think that'll be successful. But I really like both their running back core and their wide receiver core going into the year. Mixon and Chubb, as well as Nico Collins. Christian Kirk, I'll be interested to see what he is this year and what he can provide and how he's going to work with the team. And Dalton Schultz, I think that all of that should be very interesting going into the year. I think that's a lot to use on offense, some creative things you can do. Really, really exciting. I think their offense will be. I expect them to score significantly more points, assuming everybody stays healthy. And then on their defense, they've got one of the best defensive end combos in the league. I think it scares everybody. So I'll be very interested to see if their secondary is going to be able to hold them together. But assuming that they can put up the same number of points against and significantly increase their points for, if they can win the games in their division, I think they're going to be sitting back up in that top bracket in the 11 and 17 category there. I think that's the 11 is really kind of their ceiling, or 12 maybe is kind of their ceiling. But I think they'll pull it off with what they've changed this year. So yeah, that's what I think with Houston. Do you think Indy is going to be nipping at their heels?
I kind of want to be thinking that because I really like Anthony Richardson. I liked him coming out of college. Thought he was this really cool project. It's just he's so different than most of what's come out. He kind of reminds me of Cam Newton, of course, just because he's freakishly athletic. He's got one of the best deep balls in the country, but lo and behold, he's injured and something's wrong with his shoulder this year. And so we're still kind of waiting to see there, but it doesn't look like he's going to be playing much, if at all, this year. So that in mind, I think they're going to struggle. Daniel Jones is kind of a steadying force. I've seen him quite a bit with the Giants, and I don't have tons of confidence that he's going to be the answer, take him long term or even just short term this year. He can run an offense, and I'd give him a better score on his intermediate passes than like an Anthony Richardson, but his deep ball leaves much to be desired. So I don't think he's a huge downgrade from Anthony Richardson, but if you're going to ask him to take you to the playoffs, I have my doubts. And on top of that, they lost one of their better offensive linemen, Will Freese. They lost one of their centers. I think they had another guy that they actually favored, though, there. So their offensive line had a little bit of turnover, but not tons. And they've had pretty good offensive line play, pretty good run game. So I think they'll actually be pretty solid there, but we'll see. I guess I'd put them, so sorry, kind of one tier lower than they were last year. I could see them getting 8 or 9 wins, but I see them as a bit more on the stuff might go wrong than a whole bunch goes right, and that puts them in the 8 to 12. So I'll have to put them down here. For me, I have my doubts. Their defense has been really good. Jonathan Taylor has been a great running back, but I just have my concerns about the quarterback in particular. So And after Daniel Jones, I don't even know who it is. It's probably someone like Easton Stick or something. I don't have their roster in front of me, but yeah. So I have my concerns about the Colts this year, but I honestly think that might be better for them in the long run. I'm kind of, as much as I said at the beginning, I really like Anthony Richardson. I've seen enough at this point to personally feel like he's probably not the guy. And so next year is a great quarterback draft. This would be a good year to kind of have the bottom fall out. Get yourself a quarterback, start over a little bit, just call it a loss. So we'll see. I'm rooting for him. I'm always rooting for the Colts. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I watch too much Pat McAfee show, or I got a buddy at work who's a Colts fan, whatever it is, but I end up rooting for him. So we'll see. Before we get into the next team, just real quick, I want to do a quick shout out to everyone who's been subscribing. We really appreciate it. We're still trying to get to 100 by the start of the NFL season, the 2025 NFL season. So if you're willing to give us a subscribe, we really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much. So back to it. Tell me about the Titans. Are they liable to be first overall pick again, or are they going to ascend ever so slightly?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the question is going to be who is Cam Ward, and what is he, and when is he? I think there's a lot of great questions to come here with the offensive line that they put out last year, and I don't know that they've retooled it tons. That's my concern. It seems like we see this year to year where a team gets first pick. Quarterback comes in, there's no offensive line, and it's how long can they stay alive? So I'm a little bit intrigued, concerned for how he'll do behind that, but I'm excited for him. I think he actually has an intriguing wide receiver core to throw to, and he's got Tony Pollard there, who's been pretty consistent. So getting to see Ridley and what's left of Tyler Lockett, and maybe see a real, hopefully, resurgence, I hope, because I kind of feel like it's Treylon Burks' maybe last opportunity to be like a main player. Should be pretty interesting. So he's got some tools. It's not like he's out there with nothing. So it'll be an opportunity for us to get to see potentially some positives from him. The defense, simply put, their defense is terrible or potentially non-existent. It's not that they don't have some positive parts. It's just hard to know how good those parts are when they're getting run over. It's great that you got a sack. Simmons, Keys, they've got some fun parts on defense, but I don't think they're enough to stop the improvements that some of the other teams have made, notably Houston in particular. And they did not play their own division well last year. It's hard to imagine they're going to be tons better there unless Cam ends up being ready to go in the NFL. So be interested to see how that goes. I still put these in the 0-6 category. I don't think they'll be at 0 or towards 0 necessarily, but I'm hoping that they're in that 6 category. But somewhere in there, we'll see. If Indianapolis, like you said, is going to take a bit of a dive, maybe they'll be up beyond that. But yeah, that's where I see Tennessee. Do you see the Jaguars being the Cinderella that are heading to the Super Bowl here?
No, they made some good changes. I like, anytime a team makes a concerted effort at the offensive line, I always appreciate that. My team in particular. But for the Jags, they did. They I just lost his name, but they added a good guard this season, I believe. So that should help. However, that wasn't really the biggest problem last year for them. I think I saw that in 10 games, Trevor Lawrence was sacked like 18 times, which is not a bad ratio at all. I think one of the biggest things that could help them is, can he stay healthy? And he really doesn't have an extensive injury history that I'm aware of. So I don't think it's like this trend like with Kyler Murray. There's kind of a trend there. But right. So hopefully he can get back, play the whole season. Other than that, their defense has got to turn a corner, because kind of copy and paste what you said about the Titans, you could say about the Jags as well. Their defense was pretty bad. And unlike the Titans, I don't think they can blame 20 or 30 of those points on that quarterback, Will Levis, throwing 30 points to the other team. So this was all their defense just really struggling. Now they have the most interesting player in the NFL now, most likely, and Travis Hunter. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him. Is he really going to play 100, 120 snaps a game, which just sounds ludicrous? They might. They've kind of suggested that they might. And that will be really interesting, especially if he's good at both. I mean, obviously, they're not going to play him if he's terrible at either, but it will be interesting to see how much that helps. But yeah, they've got to really address the defense in particular. So that's my two things for them, I'd say, is if they can keep Trevor Lawrence healthy, and if that defense can just take the edge off of 430 allowed points, I believe, from last year, they could make some ascension. And I think they'll do a little bit of that. They've got kind of a weird new head coach, but sometimes weird works. I mean, that head coach is kind of weird, but we like the direction that we're going. So similarly, I'll put them in here with the Colts at the 5-9. If I had to pick a number right now, I'd pick 7. That would be my number I snatched out of a hat. 7, maybe 8. But we'll see. They played their division. You mentioned this with the Titans, that they didn't play their division. Well, the Jags played them okay, but 2 of their 3 division wins were against the Titans. So, it's a little watered down, but we'll see. Again, I kind of like some of the stuff that they put together here, and they've got a fun, I think they drafted a really fast running back that I'm going to kind of have my eye on, Bashal Tootin. He was really fast at the combine, so we'll see if he's fast with pads on. But yeah, so they've got a fun team. I'd love to see them get a run game going. But yeah, well, any closing thoughts here? Any shifts that you'd make? Would you move one of the teams I put in or anything like that?
No, I mean, I think like you were saying, the argument can be made to move people up a little bit. I think it's possible that the Titans could be up in that same 5-9 category. One could make that argument. Part of me wondered about the Jags and their ability to move up, but I just think there's a few too many unknowns there, especially based off last season, to make that prediction. So no, I think overall it's interesting to me how strong I feel like the running game in this division kind of has gotten, even on the teams that aren't necessarily winning a lot of games. I feel like for the most part, there's a lot of strong kind of running backs in this division, which I enjoy. I enjoy the running game and the kind of the resurgent running game that we've had in the last season or two. And then there's, with Jacksonville, I feel like there's opportunity for other backs. I think Travis Etienne has respect on that team, but I think that of the main running backs in that division, he's probably the on the lower end of the productivity scale, maybe the nicest way of saying that. And that may not be exactly what they plan or need him to do anyway. But yeah, no, I think overall I'd stick with the way things are.
Okay.
What about you? Would you have shifted anything?
I feel like 11-17 wins is a little ambitious for them, but I mean, if I had to give them a number, it would be 10 or 11. So it's not like I disagree with you massively. It's just like they lost Laramie Tunsil. That's this big negative that they lost. And it's, whenever a team loses a left tackle, they've got a young quarterback. I'm always worried he's going to be jumping around a little bit. So, but we'll see how that goes. I really like the way they're coached and just brought up as an organization. I really like the way they run things. So I don't really dislike that. And they had quite a few injuries last year, especially in their wide receiver group. So God forbid they can actually stay kind of sort of healthy. Adding Nick Chubb to Joe Mixon, and they already have Damian. I forgot his last name, the other running back, 31. But yeah, they've got a strong group of running backs. And so, yeah, I really like what they've put together there. So again, I don't think it's ludicrous at all. I would have just put them at 10, maybe 11 myself. So I'd have probably put them down 1, but we'll see. And of course, they're going to lose to my Cardinals because we got to play them this year, I believe. So foregone conclusion.
Deep in the season. Yeah.
Wink, wink. But we'll see. So, all right. Well, very good, man. Well, that's going to wrap up our AFC South. And that actually wraps up our power rankings, win prediction, kind of sort of for getting into the 25 season as it is. We'll probably get into the power rankings of some variety during the season, but for now, that's going to wrap this series up. We're going to start something new next week, and we'll let you know what that is when we know exactly how that's going to look. So stay tuned. I hope you'll check back in. Really appreciate you all and have a fantastic week.